In the mid-2000s, Alex Puccio was the name in women's bouldering. She first competed on the national stage in 2006, which shockingly was just 4 years after she started climbing. After winning that first competition, she went on a tear, picking up US Bouldering Championship wins in 2007, 2008, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. She added to her repertoire in 2009 with a gold medal in the World Cup, along with several second and third places on the international stage. With her explosive style, creative beta reads, and strong outdoor resume, she had a good case to be made as one of the best boulders in the world. And then, around 2015, things started to go a little bit wrong. First, she sustained a season-ending injury to her knee while warming up for the Vail World Cup. It healed just fine, and Puccio was back to crushing outdoor routes within 6 months. Almost exactly a year later though, she suffered another serious injury, again at the Vail World Cup, when she discovered a herniated disc in her back that required surgery. She would return to competitions in 2017, again in Vail, but she wasn't fully recovered and missed the podium. Throughout all of this, Puccio spoke about struggling with the mental side of the competitions, which she blames for her lack of World Cup victories post-2009. In addition to that, the climbing world was starting to change as some insanely strong young talent began making names for themselves on the international scene. With all of this put together, it was hard not to wonder if Alex Puccio would ever regain her spot at the top of the bouldering world. This all came to head in the Vail 2018 World Cup. Puccio qualified for the final in first place, where she was faced with a stacked field that contained young up-and-comers like Miho Nonaka, Akio Noguchi, and Kyra Kondi. In front of a hometown crowd, it was up to Puccio to prove that she still had what it took to win gold on the international stage. Today, I thought it would be fun to look back on this event and break down the routes, the competitors, and Puccio's own climbing style to see how the competition played out and how, in the end, it all came down to Alex Puccio alone on the wall with one move standing between her and a gold medal. Hey guys, welcome to Retrospective, where I'm going to be taking a look back and breaking down some of my favorite competition moments from the past. Today we're focusing on the 2008 Vail World Cup, where Alex Puccio returned from injury and a string of disappointing competitions to try and reclaim her spot on top of the podium. Like I said, this competition held a little more weight for Puccio than just your average World Cup. She had gone a long time since winning gold, and she was trying to overcome not only a pair of serious injuries, but also the fact that the other climbers around her were getting both better and younger. On top of all of that, Vail had always been a special place for Puccio, and she often spoke about how much she loved being in front of the hometown crowd. There was a lot riding on this event, and it did not disappoint. Top to bottom, Vail 2018 was a great show. On the men's side, you had solid route setting, Tomoa doing Tomoa things, and Sean Bailey making the podium in his first ever World Cup. The best moments of the day, though, were yet to come. The women's event started off with a delicate, slabby route that placed a lot of emphasis on balance and body positioning. Now, throughout the course of the 2018 season, the story had been all about Team Japan's rising stars, Akio Noguchi and Miho Nonaka, and at first, it looked like this competition was going to be no different. After Alma Bestvater, Kyra Kondi, and Fanny Gibert failed to even secure a zone on the first boulder, Miho Nonaka showed up and combined her power with some really nice technique to flash the route. Akio Noguchi also managed to secure a zone, and right out of the gate, it looked like Vail was going to be yet another instance of these two battling it out for first place. And then Alex Puccio came out. Maybe it was nerves, or maybe it was just that the boulder didn't really fit her style, but she looked a little uncomfortable to start. She secured the zone on her first attempt, but then messed up the thumb press. On her second, she tried and failed to use her power to skip through the complicated upper section. With a minute left though, she made a really good read and was able to press her way through the crux, securing a top and putting herself squarely in contention for the gold medal, and with the slab out of the way, you knew that the best was yet to come for Alex Puccio. Boulder 2 was much more her style, with this massive dyno to start it off and then a couple of really burly moves through the middle section. The final move looked like it was just another dynamic sequence, but there was actually a surprising amount of technique involved. Look at Kyra Condi attempting to go left to secure the top. You can see that she keeps failing to land the left hand because she's not able to generate any power from her legs. Her right foot slips out on this bad hold, the left has nowhere to go, and she just can't top the route. It was the same problem for Akio Noguchi, who wasn't able to get anything out of her feet. Miho struggled at first, but then she used her flexibility to get this really nice high left foot that allowed her to push off the volume and stick the hold. That gave her 2 tops in only 3 attempts, putting her well in control. Alex made it through the lower sections of the route fairly easily, but when she lined up for the final move, she did the same thing that the other climbers before her had done, smearing her foot against the volume and hoping it would generate some kind of power. Now, when I watched this the first time, I was fairly sure that this wasn't going to work because none of the other climbers had been able to secure a top using this technique. None of the other climbers, though, were Alex. Despite her feet cutting loose, and despite being shorter than several of the other climbers who had tried this, Alex powered through, latched the top hold, and secured her second top in 5 attempts. She was behind Miho, but only slightly. The athletes moved on to Boulder 3, which was weird. It had an ugly start, this really tough compression move, and a super high zone that required climbers to put themselves in this really awkward position. No one made any progress on it until Miho Nonaka stepped up, and even she ended up taking a pretty scary fall before she could secure the zone. Akio got the top with some really beautiful climbing, but she was the only one who scored any points on it. Alex was stumped by the compression move, and she wasn't able to make any ground on Miho. This meant that the competition was now out of her hands. If Miho flashed the final boulder, or did it in fewer than 3 attempts, she would have won the gold, and there was nothing that Alex could do to change that as they moved on to Boulder 4. At first glance, it looked like the 4th boulder would favor Miho. The lower section consisted of some burly body tension moves which Miho excels at. She has great grip strength and her toe hooks are usually bomber. After that, climbers need to do this really big move up to the zone. Miho messed up the flash attempt when her foot slipped on the dual text, but she got to the zone on her second try. For a moment, it looked like she was going to close the show, but she wasn't able to figure out her feet, and that's as far as she ever got on the route. She tried a couple more times, but I think the combination of how difficult the lower section was and her own fatigue from all of the boulders before meant that she just couldn't power through the opening moves. The rest of the climbers were also stumped by this sequence. No one even managed to secure the zone. The move is just so burly and the feet are just so bad that no one was able to make any progress on it. So, with 5 climbers having tried and 5 climbers having failed, Alex Puccio stepped up to the final problem in the Vail 2018 World Cup. The stakes were simple. If she topped the boulder, she would win the competition. If she didn't, Miho would take it, and Alex would have fallen short yet again in front of the home crowd. Right away, her power was on full display as she moved through this initial sequence, even managing to hang on when her feet cut loose. Unlike problem 1, where she tried to power through the tough section, she took her time here and got the feet set up. Akio Noguchi had tried the same heel hook to no effect, but Alex had the solution. She added her left foot to the undercling, which gave her something to push off of, and just like that, Puccio had secured the zone. After that, it was a somewhat dicey bump up to the side pull, and then came the real crux of the route. A 4.5 foot sideways dyno with minimal feet and a landing hole that was facing in the wrong direction. Later in an interview, Alex admitted that if she had fallen here, she didn't think she would have the power to make it back up to this position because of how hard the opening sequence was. That meant that the entire competition had come down to this: Alex Puccio, in front of a hometown crowd, looking to end a decade-long medal drought, with one move between her and first place. What do you think she does?
If she doesn't get it this time, will she have time and energy for the next go? She's made it work. She's topped the boulder. Alex Puccio wins in front of her home crowd in Vail.
And just like that, it was over. Alex Puccio flashed the final boulder to secure her second World Cup gold medal and her first in almost 10 years. She showed that in a field that was quickly getting overrun by young, insanely powerful climbers who almost exclusively focused on the indoors, there was still room for her. An outdoor crusher who had been in the sport for 12 years and battled a string of injuries to arrive back at the top of the podium. Although this last move was classic Puccio beta, I really think this competition demonstrated how well-rounded of a climber she is. Obviously the power was there, but she also mixed in a lot of really impressive technique and route reading abilities, as well as a remarkable ability to keep her cool on this final move. It was one of my favorite performances in recent years, and seeing how happy she is when she tops the route really reinforces why I love watching this sport. Alright guys, that's everything I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and let me know in the comments if there's any climbing competitions or moments that you want me to feature here. Subscribe and such if you decide you like the channel, and I will see you next time.